The impossible defense. Admiral Ilara Chen stood motionless before the massive viewport of the UES Intrepid, her weathered face illuminated by the glow of Earth below. 27 years of military service had prepared her for many things, but not for this, humanity's possible extinction. "Still nothing from the diplomatic channels?" she asked, not turning from the view. Commander Rice approached, his uniform crisp despite being on duty for 36 hours straight. "No, Admiral. They've ignored every transmission on all frequencies. The outpost on Europa went dark 10 minutes ago." Europa. 3,000 colonists, scientists, and engineers. Gone without warning. She closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself one moment of grief before the burden of command reasserted itself. "Show me the most recent scans," Chen ordered. The holographic display flickered to life in the center of the bridge, projecting a three-dimensional map of the solar system. Red markers indicated the alien vessels, hundreds of them, moving in perfect formation from the outer system inward. They had appeared without warning near Neptune 7 days ago, and since then had methodically destroyed every human outpost they encountered. "Their configuration is unusual," noted Lieutenant Santos, the tactical officer. "See how the smaller vessels encircle the larger ships, almost like a protective swarm. Hence the name we've given them," Rice added. "The Swarm." Chen studied the formation with narrowed eyes. Whatever these aliens were, they weren't here for peaceful first contact. Their movements, their precision, their systematic destruction of human outposts. This was an invasion force. "What about our weapons tests?" she asked. Santos swiped through several data screens. Standard energy weapons had minimal effect. Their shields seemed designed to disperse and absorb directed energy. "Missiles are intercepted before impact." "But," he hesitated. "But what, Lieutenant?" "The mining station on Ceres managed to fire their industrial mass driver before they were destroyed. The data suggests the impact caused a momentary fluctuation in the swarm's shields." Chen leaned forward, interest piqued. "A mass driver. That's centuries-old technology. Essentially just electromagnets propelling metal at high velocity," Santos confirmed. "Nothing fancy. And that's exactly why it might work," Chen said, the first glimmer of hope warming her voice. "Their defenses are designed for advanced energy weapons and guided projectiles. They wouldn't expect us to use something so primitive." She turned to address the bridge crew. "Contact Earth Defense Command. I need a direct line to General Okoye immediately." Within the hour, Chen stood before a virtual assembly of Earth's military and political leaders. Their faces showed varying degrees of fear, hope, and skepticism as she laid out her plan. "Mass drivers," General Okoye repeated, his deep voice resonating through the communication system. "You want to defend Earth with glorified railguns." "Not just any railguns," Chen replied. "I propose we convert our orbital platforms into massive electromagnetic accelerators capable of launching tungsten rods at unprecedented velocities. At 50 kilometers per second, even a small projectile would deliver the kinetic impact of a tactical nuclear weapon without the radiation." President Alvarez leaned forward, her expression grave. "How confident are you in this approach, Admiral?" Chen met her gaze unflinchingly. "Their shields are optimized against energy weapons, the logical evolution of defensive technology. They weren't designed to withstand simple kinetic impacts. We have one advantage. The swarm doesn't expect us to use outdated technology." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of humanity's future. "How quickly can these platforms be constructed?" asked Defense Minister Khalid. "We don't need to build them from scratch," Chen explained. "We convert existing orbital infrastructure, space stations, satellite arrays, even decommissioned spacecraft. Every shipyard and fabrication facility on Earth and Luna would work simultaneously." "Timeline?" Okoye pressed. 3 weeks for full deployment," Chen answered. "The swarm will reach Mars in 2. President Alvarez exchanged glances with her advisors. "This is our best option." "It's our only option, Madam President." Chen said without hesitation. Alvarez nodded once, decisively. Make it happen, Admiral. All Earth's resources are at your disposal. The next 14 days blurred together as humanity's greatest engineering effort in history unfolded. Every available manufacturing facility on Earth and Luna worked around the clock. Space stations were hastily retrofitted with electromagnetic accelerators. Mining operations in the asteroid belt were redirected to harvest tungsten for projectiles. Chen oversaw it all from the UES Intrepid, now positioned in Mars. Throughout the Mars orbital system, what had appeared to be abandoned mining equipment, derelict satellites, and inactive defense platforms suddenly came to life. Massive electromagnetic accelerators that had been disguised as ordinary structures powered up simultaneously. From dozens of positions, they unleashed their devastating payload. Thousands of tungsten rods, each precisely machined and magnetically accelerated to impossible speeds, converged on the swarm from every direction. There was no warning, no time to adapt their defensive shields. The first volley tore through the forward elements of the alien fleet. Ships that had seemed invulnerable to humanity's most advanced energy weapons simply shattered under the kinetic impact of the hypersonic projectiles. Direct hits across their forward section. Santos reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. Their shields are failing. All platforms, continue firing, Chen ordered calmly. Focus on their larger vessels. A second volley launched, then a third. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as ship after alien ship broke apart or spun out of control. For a moment, it seemed Chen's desperate gambit might work perfectly. Then the swarm adapted. Humanity's finest hour. They're changing formation, Lieutenant Santos called out, alarm edging into his voice. Shield configurations altering. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with increasing concern. The surviving swarm vessels were rearranging themselves, their shields visibly shifting to a denser, more opaque configuration. They had recognized the threat and were adapting to it with frightening speed. They're reinforcing against kinetic impacts, Chen realized aloud. All platforms, increase fire rate. Target their adaptation points before they complete the adjustment. The orbital platforms and disguised warships launched another volley, but this time with diminished effect. Some swarm vessels still took damage, but many of the tungsten rods now glanced off the reconfigured shields or exploded harmlessly against them. Then the swarm counterattacked. Beams of blinding energy lanced out from the alien vessels. Where they touched, Earth ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant of overwhelming force. UES Dauntless destroyed, Santos reported, his voice now carefully controlled. UES Valiant and Defender gone. Platform Cluster 7 has gone silent. Chen gripped the command rail as ship after ship vanished from the tactical display. Each lost icon represented hundreds of lives. People who had volunteered knowing the odds against them. She had expected losses, but the reality was still shocking. The swarm is advancing on our position, Commander Rice announced. Their main force is regrouping. Chen studied the tactical situation with rapid calculation. Phase 1 of Nightfall had succeeded in causing significant damage, but not enough. The swarm had adapted more quickly than anticipated. If they remained to fight, the entire Mars defense force would be annihilated. All remaining vessels, execute withdrawal protocol, she ordered. Fall back to Earth orbit. Maximum velocity, scattered vectors. As Earth's surviving ships broke off engagement and scattered in different directions, the swarm divided its forces to pursue. Just as Chen had planned. They're splitting their fleet, Rice confirmed. Pursuing our scattered ships exactly as predicted. Good, Chen said with grim satisfaction. That's exactly what we want. The UES Intrepid shuddered as it accelerated away from Mars. 3 swarm vessels in close pursuit. The ship had taken damage during the engagement. Climate control was failing in sections, and the port maneuvering thrusters were operating at reduced capacity. Status report on Earth defense grid, Chen demanded. Communications Officer Lin looked up from her console. Fully operational. Admiral. All platforms report ready status. General Okoye confirms Earth is prepared for Phase 2. Chen nodded. Phase 1 had been the feint. Cause damage, then retreat in apparent defeat. Phase 2 would be humanity's true stand. How many of our ships will make it to Earth? She asked quietly. Reyes consulted his datapad. Current projections suggest 60% of our remaining vessels. The rest will likely be intercepted before reaching defensive positions. More lives lost. Chen absorbed this with outward calm. Though each projected casualty weighed on her conscience, it will have to be enough. The Intrepid trembled as a near miss from a swarm energy weapon scorched its outer hull. The lights flickered, then stabilized. Shields at 38%, reported the tactical officer. Another direct hit will compromise our structural integrity. Evasive pattern Delta, Chen ordered, and prepare the emergency mass driver. During the retrofitting process, Chen had insisted on installing a small, cruder version of the mass driver technology on the Intrepid itself, essentially an oversized, improvised railgun running through the ship's spine. It was a desperation weapon, untested in actual combat. The emergency driver is charged, Admiral, Santos confirmed, but we only have 3 projectiles, and firing will drain our remaining power reserves by 40% per shot. Hold for my command, Chen replied. We'll need it soon enough. For the next 16 hours, the Intrepid led its pursuers on a dangerous chase through the inner solar system. Every maneuver was precisely calculated, not to escape, but to ensure the swarm followed a specific path toward Earth. Other Earth vessels were doing the same, drawing the fractured alien fleet into a dispersed formation. By separating their forces to chase multiple targets, the swarm had sacrificed their greatest strength, their coordinated defense. As the Intrepid approached Earth orbit, Shen finally allowed herself a moment to view her home planet on the main screen. Blue oceans, swirling white clouds, the green and brown of continents, everything humanity had ever known or built. Everything worth dying for. We're entering Earth defense perimeter, Reyes announced. Swarm pursuers still on intercept course. Chen opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is Admiral Chen. Phase 2 of Operation Nightfall commences in 2 minutes. All ships, prepare to reverse course on my mark. The tactical display showed dozens of Earth vessels entering orbital positions, still apparently fleeing from their swarm pursuers. The alien ships followed, their formation looser now, spread across Earth's orbital paths in their eagerness to finish off the retreating human fleet. The swarm vessels are entering optimal firing positions, Santos reported. Chen waited 3 more heartbeats, watching as the alien ships fully committed to their pursuit. All Earth vessels, reverse course and engage, she commanded. Earth defense grid, activate and fire at will. All around Earth, what had appeared to be ordinary satellites, space stations, and orbital platforms suddenly revealed their true nature. Massive electromagnetic accelerators powered up simultaneously. Targeting systems locked onto swarm vessels from hundreds of positions. The Intrepid itself shuddered as its engines fired in reverse, bringing it abruptly about to face its pursuers. The sudden maneuver caught the 3 swarm vessels off guard. Emergency mass driver online, Santos reported. Target locked. Fire, Chen ordered. The ship bucked violently as the improvised railgun discharged its first projectile. A simple tungsten rod accelerated to unimaginable speed. The massive kinetic energy tore through the lead swarm vessel's unprepared forward shields, shattering it into expanding debris. All across Earth orbit, similar scenes unfolded as humanity's ships turned to face their pursuers, and the orbital defense grid unleashed its full fury. Thousands of kinetic projectiles converged on the dispersed swarm vessels from all directions. Multiple confirmed kills, Santos reported, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. They can't adapt to simultaneous attacks from so many vectors. On the tactical display, Chen watched as swarm vessel after swarm vessel broke apart under the concentrated barrage. Their adaptive shields, so effective against a coordinated attack, couldn't reconfigure quickly enough to protect against kinetic impacts coming from every direction at once. Swarm command vessel identified. Rise reported suddenly. It's changing course, attempting to withdraw. The display showed a massive alien ship, at least 3 times larger than the others, accelerating away from Earth as smaller vessels moved to protect it. Chen studied its movement for a moment. If that was indeed their command ship and it escaped, it would undoubtedly return with reinforcements. Intrepid, plot intercept course, she ordered. All available ships, converge on these coordinates. We cannot allow their command vessel to escape. The damaged Intrepid surged forward, joined by 6 other Earth vessels. The remaining 2 swarm pursuers moved to block their path, unleashing devastating energy weapons. Shields failing, shouted the engineering officer as the ship shuddered under the assault. Emergency mass driver status, Chen demanded. Charged for 2 more shots, Admiral, but structural integrity is compromised. Firing might tear us apart. Chen glanced at the tactical display. The swarm command ship was accelerating rapidly, already nearing the edge of weapons range. It was now or never. Target their command vessel and fire both remaining projectiles, she ordered. Admiral, the structural stress cold. That's an order, Lieutenant. Santos nodded grimly and input the commands. The Intrepid groaned as its makeshift weapon charged for a maximum power shot. Warning lights flashed across every console. Firing, Santos announced. The ship lurched violently as the emergency mass driver discharged both remaining projectiles in rapid succession. Hull breach warnings sounded throughout the bridge as the stress tore open sections of the vessel. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, isolating the damaged areas. On the tactical display, they watched as the 2 tungsten rods streaked toward the fleeing swarm command ship. The first impacted its aft shields, causing a massive energy fluctuation but not penetrating. The second, following milliseconds behind, struck the exact same location before the shields could regenerate. The effect was catastrophic. The swarm command vessel erupted in a series of explosions that rippled from stern to bow, tearing the massive ship apart from within. Direct hit, Santos exclaimed. Command vessel destroyed. The bridge crew erupted in cheers, but Chen's attention was already on the remaining swarm vessels. Without their command ship, their formations became erratic, their attacks uncoordinated. Some continued fighting, while others attempted to flee. All Earth forces pressed the advantage, Chen ordered. Target remaining vessels before they can regroup. For the next hour, the battle raged across Earth orbit. The Intrepid, too damaged to continue fighting effectively, took up a defensive position to coordinate the Earth fleet's movements. One by one, the remaining swarm vessels were destroyed or driven off. As the last alien ship vanished from sensors, an eerie quiet fell over the bridge. The tactical display, which had been a chaotic swirl of movement, now showed only Earth vessels and the scattered debris of what had once seemed an invincible alien armada. Status report, Chen requested, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing commands. 42% of Earth's defense fleet lost, Rise replied soberly. 17 orbital platforms destroyed. Civilian casualties minimal thanks to the planetary shelter protocol. Chen nodded slowly. The cost had been enormous, but humanity had survived. She opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. This is Admiral Chen. The swarm has been defeated. Repeat, the swarm has been defeated. Earth is secure. The response came from President Alvarez herself, her voice thick with emotion. Admiral, on behalf of all humanity, thank you. Your strategy saved our species. Chen looked around at her battered bridge, at the exhausted but proud faces of her crew. It wasn't my victory, Madam President. It was humanity's. When faced with extinction, we refused to go quietly. We adapted, we improvised, and we overcame. 3 days later, As the Intrepid limped back to Earth for repairs, long-range sensors detected a new development. At the edge of the solar system, several unidentified vessels had appeared. They maintained position, neither advancing nor retreating. "Are they more swarm ships?" Chen asked, studying the sensor readings. "Negative, Admiral," replied Santos. "Different configuration entirely." And he paused, rechecking his instruments. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Let me hear it," Chen ordered. A strange, melodic sequence of tones filled the bridge, followed by what sounded like synthesized words in dozens of Earth languages played simultaneously. "They're trying to communicate," Rise realized. As the message clarified, one phrase became distinct. "We witnessed your defense. We come in peace." Chen raised an eyebrow. "It seems our victory over the swarm has attracted attention." President Alvarez's voice came through on a secure channel. "What do you think, Admiral? Another threat?" Chen considered for a moment. "I think, Madam President, that humanity just announced its presence to the galaxy in a rather dramatic fashion. We demonstrated not only that we can defend ourselves, but that we're resourceful enough to overcome superior technology with ingenuity. And these new visitors, perhaps they're here to establish diplomatic relations now that we've proven ourselves worthy of notice." Chen smiled slightly. "I suggest we prepare a proper welcome, while keeping our orbital defense grid fully operational, of course." As the Earth prepared for its second first contact, Admiral Chen finally allowed herself to relax slightly. Humanity had survived its greatest test, not through overwhelming force, but through adaptability and determination, the very qualities that had defined the species throughout its history. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together, no longer isolated in the cosmos, but standing as equals among the stars.